Hello, hello. So here we are at the ACA Way Virtual Town Hall, and we're seeing that all of you are joining. Thank you so much for replying to all of our messages, for being part of this very, very important virtual town hall that we're going to have today. We're giving all of you a few minutes just to come in. We're seeing 124 at the moment, 25. It's going up very, very quickly. So we're giving just a little bit, a few seconds more so that we can have most of the people that registered. We have close to 500 people that registered for this first ACA Way virtual town hall. Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Gloria Garces, and I am with the ACA Way Conference. Many of you were part of the ACA Way Conference last year, which debuted in Miami as the premier healthcare and health insurance conference, setting a new standard for industry engagement and thought leadership. For those of you who were able to attend, the event attracted close to 600 in-person attendees and more than 800 virtual participants, selling out in under 2 weeks, a testament to its immediate impact and relevance, much like this virtual town hall. And most of you who were there, and by the way, thank you for coming. We hope that you make plans to attend this year's event, which has now expanded to 2 days. And we're going to offer even more dynamic lineup of influential keynotes, groundbreaking policy rollouts, and interactive breakout sessions. More details on that at the end of this virtual town hall. But to clue you in, and maybe you can start saving the date, you can save it for October 9th and 10th, and I'll give you more details at the end. But why a virtual town hall? Because the ACA Way Conference wants to provide you with relevant information, content, and networking opportunities all year round. This is why we thought that the most relevant and timely topic for our first ACA Way Town Hall would be to discuss the proposed CMS regulation changes and how we as industry leaders can make our voices be heard. And to do so right before the soon approaching April 11th deadline. And for this, we have chosen 3 of last year's speakers, which, by the way, those of you who were there, I'm sure you can say these were incredible speakers. And those of you who weren't there, we hope you make it to this year's event. First, of course, ladies first, we have our dear Ronnell Nolan, President and CEO of Health Agents for America and the Nolan Group. HAFA, it's a nonprofit trade organization for health agents created in 2012 to answer a need. HAFA educates and protects health agents and the clients they represent exclusively. HAFA now represents independent agents in 43 states and is constantly growing. Small enough to offer personal service and powerful enough to lead successful campaigns. And now when you hear Ronnell, you're going to know why it's powerful enough to lead successful campaigns. We also have with us, well, oh yeah, he is with us now because he was having a little bit of a technical difficulty. We have James Napoli. He's a managing partner at Diceros Law. He has over 21 years experience practicing law in the areas of ERISA law, employee benefits, and related litigation. His experience includes counseling clients on design, implementation, and administration of group health plans. Jim, as we call him, has handled several multi-billion-dollar cases, negotiations for employers within the electrical, utility, steel, automotive, manufacturing, hospitality, medical, entertainment, and transportation industries. He has a wide-ranging litigation experience in both federal and state courts. He has authored numerous published articles and guides, and he is also a nationally recognized speaker on legal issues and litigation facing group health plans and their fiduciaries. Thank you so much, Jim and Ronnell, for being with us. And our moderator today for this extremely important and timely conversation is Tony, as we love to call him, Feijoo, CEO of New Health Partners. He is a seasoned health and life insurance professional with a focus on serving underserved communities through innovative healthcare solutions. And I'm telling you, if somebody loves innovation, that's Tony, and we love to have him here with us today. Since 2004, he has specialized in marketing and product strategy, particularly targeting the US Hispanic market with medical discount products and the HMO offerings. In 2007, he launched his own agency aligned with ACA and Medicare Advantage, building strategic partnerships with physician practices. In 2009, Tony and NHP were selected as one of only 3 agencies in Florida for Governor Charlie Crist's Cover Florida pilot program, where NHP became the top sales entity. His work continues to reflect a commitment to affordable, accessible healthcare. So thank you all for being here today. We are so excited to hear what you have to share with all of us and how we collectively can make our voices be heard. So from the ACA Way conference, thank you again. And Tony, please take it away.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you for all of you that are joining us here on this beautiful Monday, April 7th. Ronnell, thank you so much for being here with us today. James, thank you for being here today. This is a kind of a very important meeting and relevant to all our industry, which is having a conversation that we want you to have with your fellow agents, consumers, regarding the proposed changes from CMS that directly affect the ACA. I want to emphasize proposed. Nothing here is yet in the books, but I think that it's important that CMS hears from us. And you know, the point that I want to do here today is just go through all the proposed changes. Well, the ones that are affecting us in particular, some of them have to do with coverage that are great for discussion, but don't really are aligned with our conversation today. And then we want to see if as a group we can suggest how to answer these questions, which they must receive by the 11th, which is this Friday, I believe. And I'll show you guys how to get on the link, and you know what do you got to do, and how do you click on it and make the comments. And I brought 2 very smart people that know a whole lot more than I do to be part of this conversation. My dear friend, Miss Nolan, who I've known from almost the very beginning of HAFA. I think we met in 2015, Ronnell, I think it was around there, 2014, 2013. You had just started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're an OG.
Yes, yeah. And we hit it off immediately. This young lady here is a fighting warrior for agents in Washington. And she has a direct line of communication to a lot of the people that are running these changes. And Mr. Napoli, who is another bulldog in Washington, who has for his entire career, fought on behalf of employers, agents, to make sure that we are in a safe environment. So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to share, Ronnell. I'll share your PowerPoint so you can get to talk a little bit about yourself, and then we can take it from there. Just give me 1 second, and I'll get that up so that we can talk about the proposed changes. Something else that I'd like to add is, please, as we go along, we want you to put your comments on the chat, any questions, because we want to be able to answer live as much as we can, and to because this is what I want to do here, right? I want to be able to exchange ideas. Hey, look, here's a proposed change. What do you guys think? You know, what is, you know, let's do a cool brainstorming session here. If we can get to your, if we can get to your question, we will certainly get back to you on it and on a timely basis before the deadline. So I've got Ronnell's PowerPoint here. Let me just start it. Can you guys see that?
Yes, and a baby.
Okay, there you go. So, so Ronald, I'm gonna be your clicker over here, and you just let me know, and we'll start.
That sounds great. First, I want to apologize because it's the first time ever I've conducted a presentation Zoom in an airport. So if you hear some screaming children or people running around, my apologies. I tried to find a safe space and that's just non-existent. So I'm just going to apologize up front. This is the year that we take our industry back. Last year, I know most of you, every one of you, were terrorized on one way or another by CMS, whether it was their crazy rules or different things that they decided that they needed to do to us instead of them taking care of their own business and fixing their own house. So I want you to know that I am dedicated and I will not stop until we stop the shenanigans that have been happening in Washington. So we can go to the next screen, Tony. So I know we're going to talk about, some of the top proposed rules, and I'm sure Tony's going to ask us how we feel about them. And I definitely have some opinions. What I'd like to say is most important is that we're all different. We work in different communities. We work in different states. And we have a voice. We have our own voice. And what I think is important, Tony might not think is important, or James might not think is important. So we all have our own voice, and it's important that you tell your stories. But one of the things that I want to say that's not even in the proposed rules, but I'm going to fight to get our commissions back on Medicare. And that's going to be one of the huge things that I'm going to do is to bring them to their knees and make them pay for not paying us. And then we need to create a new relationship with the CMS brass that I absolutely love and cannot wait until you guys meet Peter Nelson. You are going to love him. He loves agents. He loves us, and he's going to listen, and he's on our side. So we can go to the next slide. Here he is. See how cute and squishy he is? For y'all that know Dean Mose, he kind of looks like Dean Mose. They know each other. They both are from Minneapolis. He worked in the last administration when Trump was in charge, so he worked for SCIO. If you were at the Medicarians, Jeff Grant said from the podium that he had only worked at the American experiment, which was incorrect, and kind of insinuated he did not have any experience, which is baloney. He does. He's worked before. He knows us, and he did last job American Experiment. So there he is. You're going to meet him. You're going to get to hug him, and he's a good hugger. So we can go to the next screen. So this must be y'all's insight. Do y'all want me to talk about my proposed rules and my thoughts?
So
Tony?
Ronald, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going
Okay.
to I'm going to go ahead and bring up the deck that has the proposed changes on it, so
Sure.
that we can have them on our screen, and then let's get the conversation going on what
What we think.
what we think, what you think is really being discussed in the changes, and then open that up to discussion. And again, I think I heard something in Medicarians which is really funny, and I wanted to bring it up today. It's like we can't tell CMS, hey, this idea sucks. We gotta, we can't do that.
You gotta have a solution.
Yeah, well, you can start the conversation like that. Hey, this idea sucks, guys, but let's make it better like this. Let me just get the slide open and okay, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So let's go to the so here we go. So let's just go one by one and talk about it. And James, please chime in all you want. So the first one, increasing consumer accountability and continuous coverage, and it's satisfying debt for past due premiums, eliminating gross premium percentage based on and fixed dollar premium payment thresholds, and shortening the annual open enrollment period for the individual market coverage. Boom. There's some boom, 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 boom there, right? So I'd like to hear your comments on that, Ronnell, and your comments on that, James. And then we can start, let's brainstorm what would be good suggestions for the government. And I've been talking to a lot of people, and a lot of people have some really cool ideas. So please, Ronnell and James, you guys tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start because I always go before James and then he slaps me. I do not love the fact that they want to satisfy the debt for the past due premiums, and I'll tell you why. I have dealt with so many insurance companies that have made mistakes in the consumer's accounts, and their coverage got terminated, not on their own account because something got messed up, and then they wanted to pay back premiums. If you did not have claims, I do not believe you should have to pay premiums. That's just my thought. Some people might think different, but like I said, everybody has your own story. I've been an agent since I was 18 years old. So it's something that, is dear to my heart. Folks that don't have the money to back pay premiums that I do not think that they owe. I kind of want to jump to the shortening of the open enrollment, and then we'll let James chime in. I've been here since the beginning, and since the beginning, it was 45 days. And when they wanted to expand it, agents said, I don't want to work through Christmas. Now I'm going to work through Christmas, and now I'm going to miss my time with my family. So I've heard both ends of the story. So what I'm going to say is there's going to be one way or the other. If for some reason, and I kind of crystal ball think it's going to be the shorter time period. If it is, that means that you're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to hire people to help you to make sure you can make that happen. When Dean called and said, Ronnell, what are you going to do? And I said, our agents are going to survive, and we're going to, whatever y'all do to us can't be worse than last year. So we will survive whatever happens. So just be prepared. But let CMS know what you think about it. It's your story, it's your thoughts, and they're important. Okay, James Napoli, I'll shut up for a second.
Let me just check really quick. Ronnell, you said something really good here, right? Which is all of us have a different flavor of this. All of us have served a particular segment of the population. And I think that what you're saying about sharing stories is powerful, because in the end, what I've been talking to many of the people in the industry and the carriers and the technology providers, and we're sharing data with each other. In the end, what we're trying to do here, and what we want CMS to understand, is that we might not particularly oppose some of these rules that they're suggesting, but they must be implemented in a way where individuals are not left out of coverage. And that is my concern. Is that person that for whatever reason, some of these rules are going to squeeze them out and they will not have health insurance next year. Anyway, James, I'm sorry that I interrupted you, but I wanted to highlight what Ronnell had said.
Yeah, no problem at all. So on the first bullet, the satisfying debt for past due premiums, one of the, just to pull back for a moment, in reading the proposed rules, I will say that CMS has learned through that audit program that was just a fiasco last year, they've learned some things, and we'll see some of that playing through, because some of the rules actually are meant to meet some of the issues we raised during that audit process. The other thing to note is when you're writing on the rules, when you're making comments, one of the things that I would suggest is step back for a moment and view it from the other party's point of view. Because the one thing that is easy to dismiss is an advocate that is like what I would call a true believer, that any and everything should break in their way and their clients, customers' way. And it just isn't realistic. So for example, satisfying debt for past due premiums. If we were to say no premium if there has been, no actual use of the coverage during the time the premiums were due, that would support adverse selection, right? People would just not pay their premiums, and then when the time comes. Now, if we were to say satisfying debt for past premiums, if the error is on the carrier's part, then that individual should not have to pay the back due premiums in order to receive present day coverage. That makes a little more sense, because what you're saying is the consumer didn't make an error. And this is ACA coverage. So these are not, typically, these are not people who have the money to be able to cut a large check, 4 months worth of premium. So if it's the carrier's fault, it was an administrative error, then the individual should have to pay premiums from that point forward, but not retroactive. If we were to say that we support hey, if the, past premiums weren't paid and I didn't, use the coverage, then I shouldn't have to pay for those back premiums. Again, that kind of supports adverse selection. So I just don't pay my premiums, and then when I do need the coverage, I pay for the coverage. So that's not going to fly if we come out and just say, generally speaking, I shouldn't have to pay past due premiums. So I would tie it to an error by the carrier or the government.
But James, if the final rule is that you must have an SCP, which you should have had an SCP all these years, then an
Right.
SCP is going to answer the questions you just said. That's
Right.
not going to happen because they had an SCP.
Right. So, and the shortening the annual open enrollment period, I don't know how that is really meant to curb fraud and abuse. I think that's just something that puts an added pressure, and that's probably when we file our comments at Dicers, that's one of the things we're going to say, is it just doesn't really move the needle in a meaningful way with respect to curbing fraud and abuse.
I think one
Any
thing,
thoughts on this point, James? I'm sorry, Ronnell, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say one thing, and I think James will agree. A lot of times you'll see when a new administration comes in, a new president, that they back and go back to what they had before. And since that was a Trump amount of time to enroll, sometimes you see those things happening. They go back to what they had before. That doesn't mean that we can't stop it with comments. And it doesn't mean that we don't need more time. But I think that might be a play to go back to a Trump prior rule.
Sure.
James, any comments on the other two bullets? The eliminating gross premium percentage or the shortening the annual open enrollment?
No.
So I'll jump in and add something to that. I'm getting a lot of chatter on the chat, regarding some folks saying, hey, the 45 days is okay. And then some people saying, hey, the 45 days is meant to reduce the enrollments in the ACA. So that's from Jan. Jan, I don't know if that's the case, but I'll tell you again, in real world, what I've heard from many agencies, and I've heard different comments from different agencies. and comparing it to Medicare, right? You get Medicare. Medicare has a very similar open enrollment. They have a kind of a little twist in that you can start talking about plans 2 weeks before the open enrollment. And I think maybe in there is an answer that we can suggest to CMS. And the removal and obviously Medicare has a low income SEP that allows folks, again, it's always the most vulnerable that are going to be affected. And then something that I wanted to touch on here, which I don't think it's in our on the deck, and I'm gonna put it as part of the second point. So just to recap, right? I think we have some good ideas on our answers regarding the past due premiums. You know, James said some really cool things, as well as Ronnell. On the shortening of the annual open enrollment, you know, I think that it would be fantastic if we can have CMS and the carriers get together and maybe publish rates sooner than what they do. Right, we window shop the last week of October, and then it's all hell breaks loose. So you know, we want our, you know, whether or not they can make it happen legislatively or through business processes, you know, can they publish rates, you know, a month before the open enrollment? Can we see something in you know, in the middle of October or the beginning of October, so that when we can go out to the market and tell our customers, you know, what they expect in rates? Because we don't, that to me is one of the biggest problems. A lot of us in this group will probably, and there's some that do better than others, but the contact rate sometimes is terrible. And before, I would spend, you know, the whole open enrollment contacting a customer, and then come January, they call me, hey, my rate increased to $100. And I was like, Mr. Customer, I've been calling you for 6 weeks nonstop, and you never answer my phone call. So at that point, you know, we were able to enroll them because we had an extra month or 2 weeks. So I think that we need to have some kind of longer period to inform consumers of specifics. And then the other and Jamie, I agree with what you're saying, that the you know, the 150 SEP open the doors to fraud. But you know, we can get into that later and have a meaningful conversation as to you know, every good government policy has all kinds of bad consequences. However, you know, one thing that I wanted to touch on here, and Ronnell and I spoke about this maybe 2 months ago, was the 150, the 400% cliff on the subsidies, right? The enhanced subsidies came in, and the enhanced subsidies, you know, just poured all this extra money into the pot. And Kaiser, the Kaiser Foundation published a study. I want to say 3 months ago, 2 months ago, where I knew this data, and I told Ronnell, I told you this is the data. You know, you have 51% of every single person over the 400% FPL getting a subsidy is over the age of 50. Think about that. I'm gonna repeat that. 51% of every single individual being subsidized over the 400% poverty line is between the ages of 50 and 64. So it's a vulnerable population, number one. And number two, these are folks that are using the insurance. They use it, right? And now there is a potential to double their premiums. So what's going to happen? You're talking about 1.8 million folks. I mean, some number of that magnitude. They're going to drop their coverage. So in our response to CMS, we need to mention the Kaiser study and tell them these are people that are going to lose their coverage. And that is really the tragic thing, right? Because it's not, it's not about the income or in all that on the business side. It ends up being someone somewhere is going to be left without coverage, and we need to tell the government our thoughts about that. Let's jump on the next one. I hope you guys are, getting some cool stuff out of this conversation for your responses. Ensuring subsidies for eligible individuals, which is, so the DACA is going to be off the table. So, any thoughts on that from Ronnell and or James?
I will say that I'm going to update at the beginning that HAFA has agents in all 50 states that speak every language that could ever be spoken, that deals with the DACA folks ongoing every day. And I hear the stories on how this is going to affect and leave folks without coverage. So my heart goes out. I'm not sure what's going to happen to this proposed rule, but if this is something that you feel very strongly about, you have a story to tell, and I'm sure you do, then you need to tell the story. So CMS understands. I promise this administration is going to read these stories. Let them know how this is important to you, because I believe it's important to a lot of our HAFA members.
Thank you, Ronnell. That's a great point. James, any comments on that?
No, I would just say ditto.
Yep. Yeah. So again, yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, we feel the same way, Ronnell, and for a lot of our downline and partner distribution, they're dealing with these folks, right? And we want to make sure that part of the family of agents that are dealing with these individuals, that they're able to continue to insure them. By the way, guys, there's a lot of great comments on the chat. Really cool stuff. We have Carlos Rondon is telling us what we really need is to renew each client in a month. They buy first the insurance. That's a really cool idea. We've tried to pitch that to CMS a million times, by the way. We tried, but for whatever reason, it can't get any traction. But I'm seeing some really cool things here on the chat, guys. Keep on sharing your thoughts, because we want to be able to, again, we want you to, once the link is shared, send intelligent and thoughtful comments to CMS. And I'll tell you one more thing, something that I have spoken to a lot of the folks in the industry. We got to get our members involved in this, right? Because CMS sees us and they say, look, it's a bunch of agents, mad about our decisions. It's not. We're the ambassadors to the market, right? We're not complaining because some of these rules are affecting my income. No, we're complaining or suggesting because these rules are going to affect the lives of the people that we work for. So we need to get them. I know that our deadline is the 11th of April. We need to get the word out to our customers. Guys, this is coming, right? You need to pay attention to this stuff and encourage them to pick up the phone and call their local legislators and say, hey, what's up with this? Because if not, I won't find out until November 1st. So please, please, please get your customers involved in this. All right. So next.
I can just add two quick housekeeping things to that. So what Tony's saying is absolutely correct. And if you write a comment yourself, you should write it in the voice as an advocate for the consumers. CMS is really about the consumers, as are the states. I'm not going to say they don't care about the agents, but if it's agent versus consumer, they're almost always going to go with consumer. So if you put it in the voice of, I represent 100 consumers, 1,000 consumers, and here are some of the issues that my clients have, with these proposed, or this is how it would adversely impact. And then the other one is, if you use Chat GPT, I always mess up and say Chat GPS, but I got it right this time. Chat GPT, you need to make sure that you put it into your voice. I have a number of clients that we represent who are going through things with CMS and or the states, and they use Chat GPT before they got us involved. the government, they are, you can tell when something's written by Chat GPT, and they just dismiss it outright. If not, some of them actually got upset and said, stop writing us things in Chat GPT. We want to hear from you. So use the tools that are out there wisely, make it sound and feel like it's actually from you if you are using Chat GPT.
Thank you, James. That's a great point. So again, let's take something out of that and kind of wrap it up, which is speak on behalf of your member, right? Speak on behalf of your member. Don't speak on behalf of your agency or your agents. Speak on behalf of your members, because that is who is going to ultimately be affected by this. Ronnell, you want to say something?
Absolutely. And do not forget that this comment period is for anyone. Share this with your clients. Let them tell their story. This shouldn't just be agents and brokers or whoever does this. Share it with everyone. Let everyone tell their story. It's all important.
And I'm seeing, I saw some comments in the chat. Yes, we're gonna have this town hall recorded and shared with everybody. And then our tech team is going to Jan, the comments, I'm gonna post a link soon. And I'm gonna walk you through. It's regulations.gov is the website. And I'll put it up on the screen in a little bit so you guys can see it. On how to post your comments. But to Ronnell's point, yes, it's the comments open to everybody. However, the consumer is, we're in the industry. What consumer saw this press release? Not, I would venture no one. Obviously, some did, but I would venture very few consumers saw this. So it's up to us to tell our consumers, what is, I forgot the percentage, Ronnell. Maybe you remember, you remind me, is it like 78% of all healthcare.gov enrollments are agent driven? I know it's some high number like that, and maybe one of my colleagues on the call can correct me on that, but I think there you go, 81.
81%.
I was off by 3.
Yeah.
So that means that 81% of whatever million membership is there, right? Because we can argue, what's the right one or the wrong one, have an agent, right? Let's tell our members, guys, this is coming. You need your voice to be heard. All right, cool. Next one on the list of the proposed changes is on the verifying consumer eligibility for insurance affordability programs, addressing failure to file and reconcile, verifying income when data sources indicate household, income less than 100% of the federal poverty level, verifying income when tax data is unavailable, and stopping extensions of the period to resolve income inconsistencies. Ronnell, anything you want to chime in on those?
Yes, indeed. I was on the Hill when this bill was passed, the ACA was passed. IRS was supposed to talk to CMS. All these people were supposed to talk to each other, and all this was supposed to be reconciled by them. Do your own job and leave us alone. It's not our job to reconcile IRS papers. It's not our job to be penalized because someone turned in the wrong amount. CMS, do your job and do it right and work with the IRS like you're supposed to, and everything will be fine. And now that one just makes me a little angry.
James, any thoughts on the failure to reconcile proposed change?
Yeah, the reconciliation, I agree with Ronnell, should happen between IRS and CMS. One thing to add too is if an individual hasn't filed a federal income tax return for, I believe it's 2 years, then they're not going to be eligible for the premium tax credit or the cost sharing reductions. So that's something that's been added. But the reconciliation, we'll get back to this point when we get to two headers down, the establishing the evidentiary standard, because I think CMS really showed their hand during the audits that we just went through in using reconciliation or lack thereof against the agent. When it's really, in my viewpoint, it's really a consumer issue and or should be reconciled at the federal government level. The agent shouldn't have to keep going back and, are you sure that's what you're, what you're getting? Are your projections on track? That's not your job to babysit on that stuff.
Yeah, I agree with the both of you wholeheartedly. Ronnell, I remember that we were, excited, thrilled, scared that all these government agencies were talking to each other, Homeland Security and the IRS, and to help us do a better job, right? Because they're supposed to tell me, hey, this hasn't filed taxes in 20 years. We can't help them. So I agree with you. Now, again, to my colleagues on the call, and what does that mean to us and to our members? We must communicate to our members, file your taxes, right? File your taxes, right? We got to do that every year. You can't be without taxes that are not reconciling because you haven't filed them, right? So that's the message that we want to send to our membership.
And just to add, oh yeah, I'm muted. Sorry. Just to add to that, what Tony's saying is, think about, so we know that the government learned a little bit by their mistakes through this audit process. So too can we learn from it. So for example, having a process where every year as of March X, I send out a notice to all my clients that they need to file their tax returns. Maybe it's in February, hey, tax season, and then March, I get another one, and then April 1st. That is good evidence when CMS comes in, audits you, and says, well, wait a minute, why didn't you reconcile? You can show that, hey, I didn't engage in any fraud as an agent. I actually have been telling my clients they need to file their tax returns and get that reconciliation going on a regular basis. So some of these are what we're going to talk about in addition to the rules are just best practices and some of the things that we've learned over the last 12 months in terms of how the government is looking at these things and how they're trying to argue fraud and abuse.
And it's so
Thank you.
important, sorry, Tony, so important that, this law says, I want you to guess
Right.
what your income's going to be. And if you're wrong, I'm going to penalize you. We need to make sure our clients know we can change your income. You can change your income at any time throughout the year. You get a new job, you lose your job, something changes. You can always change that. So don't wait to the end of the year and get a big surprise and have a tax problem. Change it throughout the year. Make sure they understand.
Hi, guys. As a reminder, this whole thing is going to be sent out to you guys. I'm going to try to get to as many questions that we got. We got one from Sandra Garcia. Would we know that they don't qualify for the tax credit at the time of the submission of the application? I think that the answer to that is based on the income, or whether or not there's a mechanism in the system that's telling me, hey, no tax filed for this person, or I remember that as far as I know right now, the only question that they're asking you is, hey, this income is different than the one from last year. What's the reason for that, right? As far as I know, that's the only way that they're monitoring income. And then let me see here. Right, Linda Coyne is saying that we need to reminding our members that they need to file their taxes. And then some tax preparers tell them they don't have to file for various reasons. Oh my Lord. I'm sure they have reasons to tell somebody don't file your taxes, but they should fire that tax preparer. Some didn't know they need to file because they didn't have coverage in 2024. Actor agents assigned them for the zero plan. I know, Linda. That's where we're gonna look in my conversations with CMS. And I'll just take 2 minutes. Yeah, Pete. Yes, we'll get you guys a copy of all the decks that are here today. And like I said initially, we're gonna go through all these questions post the virtual town hall, so we can get you guys everything that you're asking. You know, I've had extensive conversations with CMS, and we're gonna get rid of all these bad actors. It's going to stop, right? You know, unfortunately, fraud is gonna always be there. You can't eliminate fraud. It's just gonna take on a different form or shape. But the things that we have to be, again, focusing and focusing and focusing and focusing is making sure that the people that need insurance are insured, and making sure that people are utilizing their coverage. The biggest enemy to our industry it's not all of these regulations that, you know, we need to, it's a work in progress, right? We need to shape it, get it better, you know, learn from our mistakes. But the biggest enemy that we have in this law, that I remember one of the ex-CMS leaders telling me there's nothing affordable about the Affordable Care Act, which I thought it was hilarious, because it's true, right? Is that if people are not using it, right, and the federal government, and we are, you know, it's our government, it's us, we're putting all this money into it. We need to encourage utilization, because if we don't, we're going to go back to being a one or two carrier industry. If you want the young carrier to survive, if you want competition, our consumers must use their product. They must use their product. And I'm taking that 3-second commercial to tell you guys that that's really the driver of our industry. Because I was reading Linda's comment about the bad actors. The bad actors are going to go away eventually, which will leave the good guys in, and the good guys need to make sure that your members are using the coverage. They have to use the coverage because that's irrefutable data, right? That's data, you know, that data cleans out a lot of the messes that we're into. All right. So let's get let's get to the last point on the $5 premium responsibility, removing re-enrollment hierarchy standards, rationalizing the monthly SEP or APTC, which I think we talked a little bit about that already, and conducting eligibility verifications for SEPs. Ronnell, any thought on that you can share to the group?
Yeah, and I just wanted to go a little bit back with what you were saying. I think we need to think about 2024 and 2025 being two different things. 2024, fraud and abuse was allowed, so their numbers could be higher. They were brass that all they cared about was how many people they could enroll. Dead people didn't matter, they were enrolling. This administration, you're going to see some difference. We've talked about the two-factor. If they did some kind of two-factor authentication, all this $5, all this craziness that they want us to do, it's going to stop some of these fraudulent people. These are not agents, and I want y'all to know this. These are not fraudulent agents. They're fraudulent entities that CMS has allowed to enter our industry by having name, date, state of birth, name, date, and date of birth. That's it. It's all on them. Now, I've heard different things about the $5. You know, some of my agents like it. They think that that's going to help. And then some of the folks that $5 might be more than people can afford. So do we want to hurt the poor? I don't think we want to hurt the poor. Do we want to get rid of bad agents? Absolutely. But I think we need to be very careful what we do and how we do it.
James, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Ronnell. I just think some of these, you know, when you're talking about conducting eligibility verification for SEPs, I would suggest, yeah. You know, so think of it in terms of if you're covered by an employer plan, it's called a qualifying event. And that allows you to make a new election under your group health plan. That's all that an SEP is. It's you're having a qualifying event, life event that the government, the rules say you can change your coverage because of this particular event. Well, you ought to verify that that event actually occurred. And again, this kind of goes to what Ronnell was saying, is that, it's all been about coverage, get as many people covered as possible. DC, it's always about the numbers. So the past administration was a little loose with the verification requirements, and we saw what we saw in terms of the amount of fraud and abuse.
So I'll chime in something in there, guys, because I think it's important that we apply the bad actors, and Ronnell, you're completely right. In my conversations with Dean and the team, it's like, guys, you made it easy. You weren't asking for socials. You made it easy. You made it easy. But that being said, from my personal experience, and maybe some of the agents and agencies here have had the same experience, and we need to communicate that. Remember, the purpose of all this is for us to throw things up in the air and listen to one another, and the great things that are being posted on the chat, so we can respond accordingly to the proposed changes. And it has to do with something that I mentioned earlier. One of the challenges that we always had, and that we continue to have, even when this was a brick and mortar business here, because remember, when the ACA started, this was all face to face. I think it was year 2 or year 3 that it became a phone industry, where you rarely saw your members, or the majority of your members, because you didn't have time, right? We didn't know, none of us knew what we were doing. I remember my very first application on the very first day of the open enrollment, I spent like 7 hours at somebody's house. And I became an expert, with the old healthcare.gov website that wasn't working. But my concern, and let me open what I'm about to say with this statement. I'm not a big fan of zero premium plans. And to Ronnell's point, the people who are struggling in our country, we got to take care of them, right? It's one of the things that makes us the great nation that we are. We take care of our people. But I think that the value of the product somehow gets lost, right? Because you're getting something that you are not paying for it directly, right? Are there folks that can afford $1? 100%. I'm agreeing with that. I'm making a theoretical point here. But my concern on the $5 premium, on the zero premium APTC policies is, so what happens to that consumer come January, after I tried contacting them 100 times in the open enrollment, I couldn't get them, and now they have a $5 premium. It is my understanding, and I'm going to need the help of the panelists or the folks listening. And it's my understanding that we have one opportunity to change it or to fix their policy. Are they responsible for those $5? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe one of our audience members knows a little bit more on that than I do. I don't know, Ronnell. I don't know what happens to that consumer.
I will be honest, when I met with Peter, one of the things I talked about was these proposed rules that they always release during the open enrollment that we couldn't answer because we were busy. And what they did is he issued it not in open enrollment. So that's good. The bad thing is they list all these people and say, these people can help you with these answers that we have, these questions that we have. But if you call them, they say, we can't talk to you during the comment period.
Yes, I know.
So there's no answer on how this is actually going to work. And this is why you're having this town hall. And this is why the stories are so important. We both have a difference of opinion. I love saying, how do you like free? And you see the importance of them paying the $5, but that doesn't mean either one of us is right or wrong. It just means our stories are important. And that's why you don't have to agree with me or Tony or James or anybody else. Your story is your story and you need to tell it.
I also think that the eligibility verifications, I'm okay with that. Right. I think that I'm okay with that. Right. There should be, right. Hey, I moved. Show me a document that you moved, or I'm you know, whatever the original SEPs were before the 150 income became an SEP. And I've got a comment about that as well. You know, I remember Ronnell, when you and I started at the very beginning, remember we would call them jumpers. You know, and
They're
that's
jumpers and dumpers, Tony. Jumpers
jump-
and dumpers.
and these are folks that you know, that would enroll past the open enrollment, use it, and then dump their coverage, right? And I think that the SEP verifications are good. I don't know if it's going to eliminate that consumer altogether. I think that's a conversation for further thought with our legislators, because it helps the fund of health insurance, right? If you get these folks that don't pay in or not contributing one way or the other, and they have claims which are much higher during the SEP because it's proven, right? So I've got a little bit of a mixed emotion on that one. And I want to make a comment to what Kika is saying on the chat. And I agree, Kika. You know, it's what I said a little while ago. No good deed goes unpunished. You know, the ACA was created for two particular individuals, right? The ones that couldn't afford health insurance and the ones that had a pre-existing condition that wouldn't get underwritten by health insurance. So we took that big bunch of people that are right now, I don't know, 19, 20, 21 million people, whatever number it is, and they're insured, right? And then that brings in a bunch of collateral damage, which is what you're saying, the unauthorized zero bronze plans, you know, the folks that don't even know they're insured. But you know, and then the other group of people that I don't want to ignore, and forgive me for sounding like a scratch record, is those folks above the age of 50 and above the 400% income line that are going to get smashed with a price increase. And we need to fight for those folks, because it could be as little as $1,000 a year in income, and then you're doubling your premium. So yeah, so Junie, yes. How in the world can you ask a member to show proof of insurance when the income is estimated? It's, you know, I think we can upload P&Ls, right? If it's a self-employed person, and CMS has been good
Sheet.
accepting that.
Yeah, there's like a profit and loss sheet you can put. That's really dumb, but it's like, how much is your income? How much is the expenses? And then make the number match. I mean, it's dumb, but it works.
I love Ronnell. Ronnell's gonna tell you how it is. I know that I was told that we only had an hour. Gloria and moderating team, is that accurate? That we only have 3 more minutes left? I'm waiting for them to yeah, Linda, I love her too. Linda saying love you, Ronnell. Guys, if you haven't become a member of HAFA, please become a member of HAFA. Health Agents for America. Ronnell runs an amazing organization. I've known her since she started it. And now she was a force of nature then. Now she's a super force of nature. And because of her, I have been able to see the legislative process of this law. She took me by the hand and took me to Washington, introduced me to all of her folks up there, and I had the privilege of meeting a lot of the folks that are behind the scenes in all this. Please become a member, and get support her in her work. James is also a crusader for agents. If you have a complaint against you in CMS, if you got something going on that is not working out, please, he can be a crusader for you and making sure CMS doesn't run over you unjustly. Regina, we don't have any word of the enhanced subsidies running out yet. That's all part of this whole process. I want to do something really quick before we go, if it's an hour. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, sir. And Gabriel from my team. Are we on for an hour, or are we on for more than that? Waiting for an answer. Let me get this up on the screen for you guys. Go ahead.
While we're waiting for that, just a real quick on the very last bullet, because this one actually has one of the biggest direct impacts on you all, and that is the standard of proof that CMS has to meet in order to basically take away your agreements. They, being CMS, are looking for a preponderance of the evidence, which means 50% plus. So if a jury were to look at the case and say, I'm 50.5% sure that that individual committed fraud, then you would be found guilty of committing fraud and you'd lose your agreements. Now, there's two things with this, and this is actually an outgrowth of what we were arguing with CMS about during the audits, and that was, what's the standard of care? What, is it beyond a reasonable doubt? Is it a preponderance of the evidence? Is it? So we're going to comment on this and where we think it should be. And the other, which they don't address, is what are the elements of fraud for this purpose? Because in the law, you have to plead fraud with what's called specificity. It's not enough to say, oh, I think this agent, didn't get the appropriate consents. You have to say that this agent enrolled X individual on X date and did not provide appropriate consent, and here's the reason why that consent is not appropriate. None of that they provided to us in terms of the elements when we first got the notice of suspensions and notice of terminations. And when we would specifically ask for that, they would deny it. Now, I will say they have reinstated and rescinded reinstated all agents, rescinded all terminations, and what's the before termination, suspension. So, we got a win there, but now we've got to, shape it up. And I really think a lot of this is just the government is over their skis, and they have been with the ACA since the date it was adopted. They're moving faster than what they're capable of moving, and they're taking shortcuts, and that's creating a lot of this mess. Even things like, how do you not know the standard of care to prove fraud? That's incredible to me.
You guys saw me trying to find Ronnell's URL. There it is. I can post it, and I was getting an error code on my computer. So guys, James, that's a really good point. And you've seen it. You've seen it with agents whose careers you saved based on that. So again, if any of you or any of your agents, any of your colleagues are having a hard time with CMS, this is your guy. This is your guy who will fight for you, and he is in Washington, D.C. The website for Ronnell's not-for-profit is up, halfamerica.org. Please become members, support this lady's tireless effort in our industry. And besides, she's super fun. We get to go to Louisiana, and we got to do all kinds of fun stuff. This is not a boring organization. We let our hair down. Well, I used to let our hair down. And she's an incredible human being. And Ronnell, I love you. I mean, you've been a dear friend, and what you've done for us is priceless what you've done for us. Folks on the screen. Let's see. Let's see. I have something here. Yes, Linda, I agree. And we've been since the beginning of the ACA. Ronnell and I have been, dealing with the unethical fraud and dealing with calling the marketplace. So we've moved that a little forward in that now we have some kind of direct line. And Carlos, I agree. We need to have. Carlos is saying that he filled 30 reports against 20 different agents last year. and that they continue to work without sanctions. So there's the good guys and the bad guys. The good guys are paying for the bad guys, and the bad guys continue getting away with murder.
So one thing that we're working on in that regard, and this is very important for the industry, the reason CMS isn't going after the true bad actors is they will tell you we don't have jurisdiction. All we can do is take away their NPNs, and they're using fake people to get, or other agents to get the NPN. They terminate that agent, bring in someone new. And technically speaking, as a legal matter, CMS is correct. What we have expressed to CMS is that they need to create a joint task force. So on the ERISA side, so if it's an employer-sponsored plan, there's a joint task force. The Department of Labor is over ERISA plans, and they have a joint task force with the Department of Justice and the FBI. So when someone defrauds an ERISA plan, even though the DOL can't necessarily go after that individual, they then report it to the DOJ and the FBI, who investigate. And I can tell you that program works very well. And the reason I can tell you that is I've put 4 people in prison for using that program for defrauding ERISA plans. So if we really want to go after the bad guys, and we've started to discuss this with people within CMS, and I'm sure, I know I personally am going to push hard for it, because it is absolutely ridiculous to me and unconscionable that you have a group of individuals, professionals, who are serving up the bad guys on a silver platter to the federal government, and the federal government saying, oh, we can't do anything with it, but we're going to go aggressively after people who have done nothing wrong, and we're going to put the scarlet F for fraud on their professional resume for the rest of their career, because why? It's easy for us. And honestly,
how can you not love this guy, huh? How can you not love this guy? Thank you, James. Thank you,
Sure.
thank you, thank you, thank you. How can we help in that, man? How can we help in sending that message of having a unit within CMS that is going to go after these guys the same way that you're talking about on the ERISA plans?
I think that's something that Ronnell and I are going to discuss and put a campaign together. It'll be something that we'll want to run through CMS and on the Hill. And part of it, so one of the things we're going to be doing, HAFA and Diceris, is we're going to start interviewing a number of our clients, as well as the consumers that were caught up in all of this nonsense from CMS. And we're going to try to get a large number of the clients. We have over 50 that have gone through this process, all of whom have been reinstated and their terminations and suspensions rescinded, which means it's as though they didn't happen. Now, there's still a lot that we have to, we got to get their commissions back and some other things. But what we're going to do then is we're going to take those that testimony, if you will, and we're going to provide it to the Oversight Committee, House Ways and Means on the House side. And then we're also going to be using that when we're ready to file the large lawsuit. As we do that, that's going to then give us a firm ground to say, and this is why you need a joint task force, because you had this rogue agency who didn't know what they were doing, destroyed. And again, it's not only the agents, it was the consumers that once an agent was suspended or termed, all of the contracts they wrote were terminated. So you had consumers without coverage for periods of time. And I know Ronnell and I both were on calls with CMS, with the CMS attorneys, with the agent, with their client, trying to get these people coverage. And it was just a mess. I think, Tony, didn't they say they lost 35% fewer enrollments due to that audit program?
That's correct.
So in trying to curb fraud, they actually lost over a third of the consumers.
New enrollments.
I'm sorry, new enrollments. And
by 34%, that's correct.
And that's just crazy.
Yeah,
Because again, they hurt the people that they were trying to help.
That is correct, right? Which should be our theme of our responses to CMS. Guys, you're going to hurt people that need coverage, and give them examples. I want to bring up say something here that Monica Williams is posting, and I've been doing this for 20 odd years. You know, I got licensed in 07 after spending about 4 or 5 years in the consulting of healthcare marketing. And Monica, in the old days, we were treated with a different level of respect in our industry. You know, we were, you know, I could call a carrier and say, hey, Mr. Carrier, Ronnell is canceling her policy effective by the end of this month. I'll send you an email to confirm it. And the carrier wouldn't think twice about, you know, some of them required a little bit more work, but the majority said, all right, Tony, we believe you, because if you're doing this with malfeasance, you're going to go to jail, man, right? There was a different level of ethical respect in our industry that 100% the marketplace took away from us, right? I know how many of you are out there angry at the way that we're treated over the phone. Like if we're the bad guys, and reminding to that stat that we read a little while ago, that 81% of the market trust us, right? They want to deal with me. They don't want to deal with the Expedia of health insurance, which is what healthcare.gov was intended to be, right? Find a hotel, you know, pay less. It's not. This is healthcare, guys. This is not, you know, maybe 50 years from now, our kids will be able to do everything on the phone. But right now, that's not the reality, right? So yeah, Monica and Ronnell has fought for this forever.
Yeah, I mean, nobody deserves to be treated unfairly. In the beginning, as Tony said, people use names like Dolly Parton of who they were. Nobody would even be honest about who was answering the phone, but all calls are recorded. You send me an email and you tell me the date, the time, and the phone number you called, and I promise I will go to CMS Brass and I will tell them exactly how you were treated, and I will make sure that it's taken care of. Do not take it and do not accept it. And if somebody tries to sell dental or change that health plan, you report it to your Department of Insurance. They're selling without a license.
Or remove you as a DOI, as the agent of record. I'm sorry. So anyway, guys, I'll repeat that. Use her resource. She will move it up the ladder if you guys are being untreated without the professionalism that we all deserve for what we do. I wanted to show you, I have it on the screen, the website for the responses. So it's regulations.gov. You guys can all see that. And if you move down, you'll see right here, Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, Marketplace, Integrity and Affordability, comments due April 11th. And when you click on that, then you have the comment section. And Ronnell, I think that I'm sorry, it's up here. It's comment, you comment here on the comment section, and then you are able to comment, and what is your comment about? Select the comment category, and it's asking if you're an individual, an organization, or anonymous. You know, so we are, I guess, Ronnell, for clarification, we go in as organizations, correct?
So what's important is you could write your comment in the little comment box, or you can write a letter and attach it. So either way is good. So yeah, I would come in as the association, and then that second one, you're an individual. I don't know why they ask all kind of crazy questions, unless you want to be anonymous. You know, if you want to, you don't want people to know who you are, but it's simple as pie, y'all. It really is. And does it say how many comments they have to? Like yesterday, I think it was like 10,000, which I was excited. I want us to shut down CMS's system and blow it up. So send so many comments that they just lose consciousness.
Yeah, so they're gonna be busy reading, guys. So you know, I'm not seeing it here. I think that once you make the comment, it'll tell you how many they are. But that's what it is, guys. So regulations.gov, let me walk you through it again. So you see it. This is the website, when it loads, and then you scroll down and you will see the Patient and Protection Affordable Care Act, Marketplace Integrity and Affordability. You click on that. And then here it is, 13,000 comments. Ronnell.
It was at 12.8 when you first, so they're coming fast.
They're coming fast, right? And then here it's a whole document, and instructions. You can mail it, by the way, if for whatever reason you don't have access to a computer to do it, you can mail it. The addresses are here. And then the executive summary is here, but you click on comment, and that's, so please, guys, we have until Friday to do this. Make sure that you have thoughtful answers. The fact sheet that is here. We will share this deck with you guys, so you guys can have access to it on the items that we spoke about. But really, and there was a couple of other things in the proposed changes that have to do more on the carrier side, and we kept it up to the marketing and sales industry. But remember, the big changes and the big things that we must address is going to be the open enrollment period, the tax reconciliation, the cliff of the income. That we're going to leave all these people without a health insurance over the age of 50. The $5 premium. How can we help those folks, manage their healthcare, and how can we help them make the payments or help them renew in January if somebody is a zero premium plan and they got a $5 premium. The DACA kids that are going to be left without the chance of being subsidied, and it'd be nice to tell CMS, hey, you know what? I agree with you on this stuff. Some of this stuff I agree with, right? Let them. They need us, guys. They need our help and our guidance. Ronnell, go ahead.
Junie, my favorite little Georgia peach, just talked about, are we just venting or are they paying attention? I'm going to tell you, last administration did not read, did not pay attention. I found out they made a rule through Capitol Hill based on 6 people, a rule for everyone based on 6 people. Peter Nelson's team is going to read this. This is different. This is 2025. It matters. You're not just venting. I promise. Last year, baloney. I don't know what they did with the comments. Probably ate them for supper. But this year, they're going to read them. So please, please, please comment.
Yes, please. And I'm going through the comments. I'm reading some really cool stuff here. Brandon Elliott wrote, here's an idea for promoting a healthier risk pool for better ACA prices. Give an extra 10% subsidy for those that keep continuous coverage in the marketplace beyond 12 months. That is a super cool idea. We've tried as an organization before with HAFA to pitch some of these really interesting concepts, or premium discounts, right? Which is kind of like works equally, right? Brandon, that's a great idea. Something like that is at legislative level, right? There's some things that CMS has control over, some things Congress has control over. I think that you should, Brandon, I don't know what part of the country you are, but pick up the phone and call your local representative.
He's in South Carolina. He's mine.
All right. So Brandon, call your senator and your congressperson and say, hey, somebody gets smart. And that's a super, super cool idea. I think that's fantastic. Let me see. And then
Tony?
Junie wrote a comment that I need to address, right? Junie's saying, what real difference will the comments make? It sounds more like venting, box, or frustrated agents who need to vent. So Junie, I'm gonna tell you something, right? I agree with you to a certain extent. And I'm gonna tell you my personal experience. And what changed my attitude when it came to these things, and I'm not trying to kiss up to Ronnell or make her any more special than she already is, but Ronnell took me to Washington in 2015. 2015 was my first trip to Ronnell to Washington D.C. Or 16, I can't remember. And I got to sit down with her and her team, and I spoke to legislators on both sides of the aisle. You know, we're nonpartisan group. We talked to this guy, this girl, that girl. And I came back, Junie, with a renewed sense of hope that your voice does matter, right? Our voices do matter. The voice that doesn't matter is a voice that doesn't speak. And they need to hear from us. So I felt like you until that day that I went to DC, and I sat with these guys, no matter what party they were from, and they all would say the same thing. Guys, how do we fix this thing? That I remember hearing that from a very right of the spectrum senator's office. We're not gonna name any names here, that said, hey son, how do I fix this thing? And Guy was there, and Ronnell was there, and we were giving suggestions, and they were like, okay, how do we figure this out, right? So we do make a difference, Junie. We do make a difference, and you know, and sometimes it's not as quick as you think it's going to be. But it will be. Okay, I'm getting yelled at by my team
Just
saying
one quick comment on top of that. So what Tony and Ronnell are saying is your voice counts if you come to the comments with some type of solution, or let them know what the concern is, why it's a concern. Otherwise, you are just venting if you just kind of spew things out. We've had a number of the regulators and a number of elected officials say, hey, we want to hear from you. And what would really be great is if you tell us what you think the solution should be, because we're not experts. They're not experts. CMS, candidly, they're not experts. They haven't walked in your shoes, most of them. They have no idea how your industry works. And so they're kind of shooting in the dark, and that's not an excuse for them. They ought to know better, and they should spend more time sitting down and speaking with you. But when you make your comment, have some type of solution so that you're not just viewed as, just kind of spouting off.
So I'm putting up on the screen. I think some of you folks already shared this for us. We're putting up on the screen the QR code for the proposed changes. You guys, if you scan that, some of you folks put them on a link on the chat. We appreciate you guys for doing that. So if you scan that, it'll take you to the proposed changes.
Yeah.
And again, we're gonna send this all out in email to you guys once we're done with the and then this is the public comments, which I kind of already showed you that on how to get there. So we're gonna get that. We'll get those out to you guys. Yes, Junie posted the 2FA authentication. I think that's gonna come. I think you know, in one of my conversations with CMS last year, I told them, guys, you're gonna get the technology, and you're gonna have to, right? There's no going back. There's no avoiding it. You're gonna have to put in technology to authenticate consumers and agents, right? I can't use a credit card at a gas station I'm getting a text on my phone. Hey, is that you?
Right.
You know, why don't we have that on the market?
Tony, didn't Health Sherpa say that two-factor authentication was going to be implemented, I'm assuming, for 2026?
They hinted at it, James. They hinted at it. I spoke to George and I spoke to Ross, and those guys are my good friends. I think something is coming. Something is coming that is going to make our lives easier to enroll and to do a good job for our members. So Jordan is asking, when will there be another town hall event? Jordan, we're gonna try to do one more probably after we come back from Washington, and you guys who are, and we all as agents, we receive notifications from CMS. I was on a CMS call right before this one. Some of my friends that I see here in the chat were there with me. On June 25th, I think it's June 25th, there's going to be an agent meeting in Washington, D.C. at the HHS building. They're expecting 300, 400 people at the event. I've been to those. Those are fantastic. And CMS likes to hear voices, and they like to hear people argue with them. And, I mean, last year when we went, there was some mad people out there. And, and so they heard they heard our passion. And I'm thinking that, and yes, and what we'll do is we'll either do a town hall before or after, kind of like to, maybe after, so we can bring people in and communicate anything that's pertinent. I'm thinking that somewhere around there is going to be where we hear the final regulation proposed, right? I think they're going to probably wait until something tells me that week is going to be a seismic week. And also the ACA Way, which is run by a company external to us, is going to run the second event. I think that Gloria mentioned it earlier, in October 9th and 10th of this year. We're going to have, again, Ronnell and James down to speak and to help clarify any of the by then effective proposed changes, whatever they're going to be. And we'll get together as an industry to kind of huddle and continue this. This is not a game over situation. People still need health insurance in our country. There's still 7% of our country uninsured, and they want to do business with us, right? They want an agent to sell them a policy. They want an agent to guide them in a policy. They don't want to call a call center with an unlicensed person telling them what the cheapest product is, because that's what happens, right? There's no, and I'm not, again, please forgive me, I'm not criticizing what they do as work. I think all work is honorable, but they shouldn't be offering health insurance, right? That's our realm, right? This is what we've been doing for many, many years. I can tell a customer, don't buy the zero premium plan, spend $10 more if you can afford it, because it's got these hospitals, these doctors, or this medication is covered better for you or your kids or your wife or your husband. And a non-agent that doesn't know our market can't do that. We know our markets. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. See, Ronnell, you're rubbing off on me. Guys, if we've gone on for an hour and a half. I want to again just kind of like summarize everything before I give it back to Gloria, and she wanted me to post something for her on the system. Is please be thoughtful in your responses. Be empathetic in your responses. If there's something that you want to compliment CMS on, compliment them. Hey, I think you guys are doing a great job here, because they need our guidance. CMS is not our enemy. They're just out of their depth, right? They're out of their depth, right? So what happens is, who's in the first line of fire? You and me. Right? So we're the ones that get the hammer. We're the ones that get discarded. And you know what? We'll deal with that, right? We're tough. We can take it, because what we do is get people health coverage. That is what we do on a daily basis, and I know that all of you here have never lost sight of that. We need to make sure that they understand that, that we are not the enemy either, right? And we must continue pushing forward so that we earn the proper space that we deserve in this industry, and get treated with more professionalism. Let me see here. Kilka, thank you so much, and thank you for everybody for being here and participating in this town hall. Ronnell, any closing comments? I know you have an airplane to catch.
I know. I'm fixing to I'm my suitcase in my lap. I just want to say, every time we have these CMS face-to-face, HAFA has a dinner with all the CMS staff. Everybody's invited. We don't say you have to be a HAFA member, whatever. So think about that also. If you're going to be flying out or whatever, I don't know why they wouldn't go with us this year, but it's time for you to sit down, have a cocktail with them, and hug their necks and just have a good conversation with them. And we do it every year.
Yes, right. We've had drinks with CMS
On a regular.
Yes. James, anything that you want to say, James, to close it up on your side?
I think what I would say is I'm encouraged by CMS's recent actions, that they're actually trying to right some wrongs of the past administration. And it's very, very, very important that you comment. No one's going to protect you better than yourself. And as an industry, it's incumbent on you to comment on these rules, because I'll tell you one thing that I'm learning too, as I've known Ronnell for forever as well, and been around the HAFA members and other agents and brokers, is how intelligent you guys are on these issues is amazing. And CMS really needs share some of that intel with CMS, and share actual stories about how, this happened to my consumer. It's just a real deal story. And it was because of X. The rule doesn't, attack that issue, or the rule hits it in a way that would actually make things worse. But yeah, I'm just so impressed with the organizations and how how smart you guys are on these issues. And it's clear, navigators, CMS, they can't match what you bring to the table, but they have to understand what you bring to the table better.
Yeah. Thank you, James. Thank you,
Mhm.
James. Gloria, again, thank you, James and Ronnell, for making the time to be here with us. We really appreciate it. I hope that we were able to shed some light to the folks that joined us on the call today. And encourage your members to respond, please. Because there's a difference between 13,000 people in the industry responding to hearing 1 million members responding. There's power in that. And don't let the April 11th deadline scare you, right? Let's get it in, us as an industry, on the 11th, but let's encourage the 21 million people that are out there to respond, right? And that should be all of our efforts. I mean, we're trying to contact news media, we're trying to contact press. We want to get the word out, because there is the power. We carry a big stick, but it's this little compared to the members that have the insurance. Send emails to your members, send text to your members, say, hey guys, this is coming, this is going to affect your coverage, I need your help, let's get in on this together. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. In the famous words of Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that. And Gloria, I can't share your deck. I don't know what's going on. I'm having trouble sharing the deck for the ACA Way that you sent me. Let me see. Let me try one more time.
That's okay. I just wanted to reiterate on what you were saying, Tony, and to those that mentioned about, does our voice count? I mean, does it really make a difference? I have worked on the government side, and I'm going to tell you, I have seen decisions taken on 3 more people calling or sending messages on one issue versus on the other side of the issue. Your voice does matter. And I think, if you share your authentic stories, if you send in your comments, it will make a difference. So we just want to encourage you, just like we have been so encouraged seeing you so engaged on the chat today. We want you to kind of encourage you to speak up and to make your voices be heard. So a big thank you to our amazing panelists. I know if we could applaud you, we would all be applauding you. And to all of you for participating. We have had close to 400 participants today, and many more that are waiting to watch the recording. As we mentioned during this town hall, there will be a link sent to each of you, all who registered, and all the ACA Way conference attendees, with the recording of the town hall and a summary and answer to your questions. So if your questions weren't answered live, you might receive, an answer to that on that communique. This will also be available. I'm sorry?
Can you see that, Gloria? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Yes, we see it. Thank you. So this will also be available on our website, which Tony is showing now, theacaway.com. So it's THE, right? Theacaway.com. And you will be able to find out more information about upcoming town halls. I know there was a question about when's the next town hall? And thank you for asking, because that means you like this one. And you will be receiving our communiques via, SMS or email, or you can log on to theacaway.com. And information about our upcoming conference. Tony said it's going to be taking place October 9th and 10th there, as we showed before, at the Coven Center here in Miami. Hopefully, if you're not here, you're willing to travel to, our Sunshine State. No, just go to the first page, T.
Yes, ma'am.
We had an amazing conference last year. Those of you who were there, I'm sure, can attest to that. And following the resounding success of our inaugural year, the ACA Way Conference now, as I said at the beginning of the event, of this virtual event, expands to 2 days this year in 2025. And we will be offering, again, more dynamic lineup of influential keynotes, groundbreaking policy rollouts, and, interactive breaking sessions. And you know what? An incredible opportunity to spend time together, to meet each other, to kind of mastermind together and be part of the conversation. This year's theme is going to be ICRA and the emerging technology. And there are ways where you can partner with us, or most importantly, you can register and attend. So attendee registration will open soon. There's their QR code that Tony's sharing so that you can find out more information about the conference. Be sure to be on the lookout for all of our communications, like I said, via email, SMS, and you can also connect to the website. I'm going to repeat it a third time, theacaway.com, for up-to-date information. And again, tons of thank you to all of our panelists, Ronnell, Jim, Tony. Thank you all for joining, and share the word. Once you receive the link, share the recording, share the information we're going to be sending to you, and make sure to have your voice, your story be heard by SMS before April 11th, which is only in 4 days, or even later. As Tony was saying, I love the idea of encouraging others, consumers particularly, to speak up past the deadline. And see you virtually on the next ACA Way Town Hall. Looking forward to meeting you in person at this year's ACA Way Conference at the Coven Center in Miami. Again, October 9th and 10th. Put it in your calendars. Much success to all. Gloria Garces with the ACA Way signing off. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Guys, lovely afternoon. We'll get you all the stuff through email. Any additional questions you want, please email us. Email Gloria, the team. We really take it in. And we want to make sure that we do everything that's in our power to get our voice heard. Anyway, thank you all for being here today with us. We love you. Look forward to seeing you in October, in June in Washington, D.C., and be part of this wonderful group of people that are doing all they can to help us. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Bye. Bye.